Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over a bit of a new subreddit, r/ServerLife. This is one that I found which hopefully a lot of people enjoy, where it's, like classic servers going over their trials and tribulations during work. Something that hits home for me as someone who's been a server for a few years, and hopefully whether or not this applies to you, it's something you find enjoyable. Back of the bus for us, I guess. To preface, I work in a wealthy white suburb of a predominantly black metropolitan city in the southeast. The city has a ton of racial history. This older white couple comes in with a dog in a service vest. I'm 90% confident that the dog wasn't a service dog, but what can you do? I put them with the next server in rotation at the back of the restaurant, because 1, that was the next section to be sat, and 2, people were already side-eyeing the big-ass golden doodle walking into the restaurant. Y'all, this middle-aged white woman says, "Oh, back of the bus for us, I guess." I just stared at her. What do you even say to that? Like, who do you think you are? Rosa Parks? Nobody wants to eat near your dog. That's clearly not a service dog. God, I cannot stand people. Yeah, so this seems like it's, what do they call it? A host or a hostess? It's someone who is in charge of seating people in the restaurant. I don't know of any golden doodles that are service dogs. Doesn't mean they're not there. Just, it's, normally like labs or something that you see as service dogs. An older white couple making a Rosa Parks reference is absolutely crazy, given that they were probably alive during it. They were probably all the type of people that told her to sit in the back of the bus, So that's kind of crazy. But it's super common for especially older white people to make random ass comments that just how are you supposed to respond to them and keep your job. It's probably one of the biggest difficulties working in the service industry. I'm really popular. I had a two-top the other day. It was a younger girl and an older man. The older man was very nice, but the girl wouldn't speak directly to me or even look in my direction. Every time I checked on them or grabbed refills, she looked at me like I was a bother. When it came time to pay the bill, the older man looks at me and asks, "You can give it, the bill, to her. Do you know who this is?" Referring to the girl. Mind you, I work in a very small, random town in the southeast. I was kind of caught off guard and panicked and said, no, I do not. I can normally think of something better to say than that, but it was a rough shift. And she looked so upset and says, "Oh, it's okay, I'm really popular, that's all I can say." And I said, "Oh, okay," and was trying to walk away from the table to run the card. He kept asking how I could possibly not know who this is, and I let them know that if it's anything social media related, I wouldn't know because I don't use social media, other than Reddit of course. And he said something along the lines of, "Oh crap, I wasn't supposed to say anything," and told me to forget he said anything at all after he had just finished hounding me about not knowing who the hell she is. The interaction was so awkward. I just said, "Okay, well, thank you so much and have a good day." They left 10%, so I'm not complaining, it was just an awkward situation. That I don't know if this man had the memo, because she's clearly not trying to get recognized, but also is like, am I popular enough to get recognized? Who knows, maybe she is actually someone pretty popular, but it's kind of weird for people who either may or may not. It's like the "I'm famous" card. Like, I don't care. My best review in 30 years. I ordered a double vodka and cranberry, and the genius working behind the bar, I think it might have been a female, but I'm not really sure, she was wearing a baseball hat, has a name that could go either way, like Jamie. She did not use a shot glass, breaking the Massachusetts state law. She poured my drink freehand, and I asked her if she was actually making a double, and she became immediately defensive and told me that she would not make another drink. I paid $21 for a drink that was 90% cranberry juice and ice. You should probably not get your bartenders off of Temu or from the local homeless shelter. I have never lived in Massachusetts, so I don't know anything about their state laws. But I would assume that having to pour into a shot glass wouldn't be what the law says, given that you have things like a jigger, which is like a pour which has either like a 15 and 30 mil side or a 30 and 60 mil side, or something like that in ounces if you're North American. And so I doubt it could be illegal to free pour. I know that, or it could just be against bar policy. I know my bar, it was against policy to free pour. You know, it's that's kind of weird. You also have you can put on your vodka like a one that measures your pour. So like it only pours out one shot, and so you can like flick it twice to get a proper thing, and it's actually properly measured. So I kind of doubt that would be the state law. You know, tell me if I'm wrong. There's clearly also some transphobia in this. Oh yeah, their name is Jamie. I don't know if it's a female. I'm sure that's not the point that really mattered, but it seems like it mattered to him. And then, you know, drinks are always going to be that high in juice and ice because that's what makes it taste nice. No one wants just vodka because it tastes like ass. And like, if you say like, oh, can I have no ice? You're just getting more juice. You're not getting anything else. You're just getting more juice. The ice and the juice makes it taste nice, and the ice helps keep it cold. So, you know, I'm so sick of repeating the same things to tables. I understand it's my job to ask questions to customers, but it's so frustrating when people don't read the options on the menu. No one ever just orders a clubhouse and rye. I always have to ask, white, multigrain, or rye toast. Every single time. Even when the menu description gives you your choice of 3 bread types. No one ever orders a house salad with Catalina dressing. It's always, well, what dressings do you have? As if they aren't all listed on the same page. And then I'm standing there listing off 7 salad dressings only for them to pick the first or second option. I'm just so tired of the repetitiveness of my job and people not knowing how to properly order food. There is a lot of people who just don't actually look at what they're reading, what they're ordering, or like the drinks that are right in front of them. Say like when I was working at a bar, we had a row of taps that are standing right in front of me. And then they proceed to ask me, what beers have you got on tap? It's right in front of you. You know, like, and I'm just like pointing to them right in front of them. Look, I kind of somewhat understand it sometimes that maybe they just walked in, but yeah. I feel like people are always, if you work as a server, you have a better idea of everything, and like questions that like you may have asked if you haven't worked in it or you don't know what's going on are things that you answer because you've worked in service. And so sometimes you don't really know what's going on. So it helps that we have experience. But it does get annoying and repetitive. And also just a lot of people spend all of their time talking and not looking, and then they're like, oh yeah, we're so ready to order. And it takes them 5 minutes to look there while you're just standing there waiting to write down their order. Because they're only doing it now that you're there. One of my biggest serving pet peeves. I can't stand when people at a table just generally seem so annoyed or even flabbergasted every time you approach the table for a step of service. You quality check them, and they all pause to side-eye you with a look of slight disgust before going, yeah, we're good. I want to just say to these people, hey, do you actually know that you voluntarily brought yourselves here specifically to be served by us and ask these questions? Why are you mildly beefing with me because I stopped to ask you if you wanted another drink? I think that's one of the things. It also kind of goes for if you're like in a place that, if you're in a country or state, whatever, that does tipping. Like, this is one of the things. If you go into a service or you go into a restaurant, you're going to get service. Or you can like go to like Subway. You can get takeout if you don't want the service. Those are your options. And then for countries or states where someone gets paid based on the tips, like, I completely agree with the whole thing of like, well, the restaurant should be paying them more. I do not disagree. But the thing is, they don't, because the system relies on the tips. And so they don't get paid. And so if you don't pay them, the restaurant isn't suddenly going to pay them. They're just not going to get food. So if you live in one of those places, if you want the service, you have to pay for the tip. Obviously, there's a bit of nuance there. If they're a terrible server, that's not quite the same thing. You don't have to tip a whole lot if they're being rude to you, they don't take care of you. That's fair. But if you're getting good service, you went to this place to get service, you should be accepting of the service and also pay the tip. Otherwise, get takeout. You can go to the same restaurant. I don't think you have any obligation to pay a tip if it's a takeout, because they haven't actually really done anything for you. They just made the food, sent it out. That's not service. So like, if you don't want these things, don't go there. The restaurant is not your office or the library. I am so tired of people coming in and camping out at a table for hours with all of their stuff spread out across the table. It's worse when it's a single person monopolizing a 4-top that's at the window. I work in a tiny 15-table spot, and a table of 4 will easily spend $100, so one person nursing a cup of coffee for over 2 hours is not cool. And when people have the audacity to lie to my face and tell me that that people will be joining them, or they're going to order later, I wasn't born later, don't piss in my ear and tell me it's raining. End rant. This is completely fair, especially in like a smaller place. But it also has its nuances like everything else. If you're at a super slow coffee shop on a Monday, like it's not like someone's not going to take the table if they're not there. That's fine. And like whatever, if they're going to spend hours there, at least they're there spending money rather than no one sitting there. But if you go in, like most of the places I worked, weekends, insanely busy. And so you come in there thinking that you can write for like 2 hours and order one coffee. It's technically you can do it because most of the owners I work with don't want to like tell people to leave, but it's like it's a waste of money for us that you're not bringing in, and like people that could have sat there. I think the worst I've ever had this wasn't even due to people like doing work. It was 2 people who came in to the restaurant claiming that they were going to have a party of 7. So we're a small 10 table cafe, put 2 of them together so they'd have room, and then they sat there waiting for like an hour and a half or 2 hours before the other 5 people joined them. So for that hour and a half or 2 hours, whatever it was, we could have had at least 1 or 2 tables sit there and eat, but we didn't get it, and it was on our busiest day of the week on a Sunday. I don't expect people, honestly, to like think about servers of the restaurants when they go to a place. It's not your concern, but it is just so insanely selfish. Black Friday mall restaurant walkout. This was years ago now, but didn't have Reddit at the time to tell the story. I've been hired to serve at this wannabe fine dining seafood chain. Our store was located within the high-end mall in our city. I was living in the suburbs at the time and commuting via public transport. I was scheduled to work at 5 p.m. on Black Friday, maybe the busiest at the restaurant. At 12:45 or so, I got a call asking if I could come in at 2 p.m., 3 hours ahead of my scheduled time, because they were getting slammed. I said no problem and bolted out of the door because at this point to be there by 2 was going to be tight. I made it there on time, walked in, and before I could get my uniform on, we left them at work. The host told me I already had 2 tables. I ran upstairs, changed, ran back downstairs, was headed onto the floor when the assistant manager stopped me at the kitchen door. I had some stubble on my chin, had shaved the night before, but didn't get a chance to again before leaving that afternoon. The policy was no growing of facial hair. You could have a full crazy beard or be clean shaven, but no in-betweens. Food runners and servers were running all about like crazy, trying to get around us. He told me to go to the store upstairs in the mall, buy a razor, come back, shave, then get to work. I told him I didn't think that was a great idea considering what's happening on the floor. He asked if I was refusing, and I immediately knew the score. He went to get the GM, who reluctantly sided with him. I told her thanks and good luck and started walking away. They chased me briefly throughout the wall, trying to get me to return, but I'd made my decision. I'm confident that the rest of the shift was an absolute nightmare. I know it was policy, but to enforce it so blindly with no situational awareness and entirely to the detriment of the guests made no sense to me. That's all. I walked away that day feeling relieved. I'm sure some of you have been there. This is clearly 2 people who just don't understand proper management, because absolutely it's the policy. But if you're coming in at you're supposed to be there at 5, you would have had time to shave. That's an extra 3 hours where you probably would have shaved. It's a no-brainer that you're so slammed, you have to just let it go. I don't think that the fact that he has some stubble from last night is really going to be the difference maker in whether people come back to your restaurant or whether they don't. I completely get it if someone turns up repeatedly like this and they're not like obeying the policies. But this is just a one-time thing, and you've basically ruined your night by not having them work being absolutely slammed just for some stupid thing like this. And it doesn't say this, but if not now, they probably left the company pretty soon to go find a different job. These people probably became managers because they were either there for a long time, or I don't know, they were good at like the front of house part or whatever they were, and they got promoted because of that, not because they're actually good managers. But also, like, kudos to you for actually walking out. Magical patio chair that summons Karens. I crack up at the 5% of wet towels at my job. These people are unhappy before they even step inside. Anyways, I had this woman start pouting after sipping her cocktail, and she seemed very triggered because it was light blue and she wasn't expecting this. Also, in the same chair 3 weeks ago, a Stepford Karen sipped a drink and said, "This is too sweet. It tastes like a children's popsicle." If you sit in this chair, you're drinking wine or beer. If you ignore my cocktail recs, please spare me the scrunch face. I am just going to laugh and give my focus to other tables. This is obviously very light on details, but the complaints are pretty weak. You know, something, oh my god, it's light blue. Who cares? Even like this cocktail, like it tastes like a children's popsicle. Half of them do. Half of them are so sugar heavy that they're so unbelievably sweet. It's like people who complain that their massive ice takes up 50-70% of the glass. That's because your cocktail is so laden with alcohol. You need that ice to either just like keep it cool or like help water it down a little bit as you drink it over time. It's not because you're getting ripped off. It's because it's straight damn alcohol. I got fired after 1 month. I started working as a waitress last month, and they just fired me through text. They said they needed a versatile and proactive staff and that it's not working with me. I don't think I was doing a bad job, I was just new. I also missed a meeting we had yesterday at 10 AM, but no one told me. I feel useless and sad. I liked working there. I'm trying to ask for a second chance, but they did not respond yet. Update, I went to work to talk to the GM. Long story short, she told me that they didn't have time to train new employees and that I was too introverted. It's true that I didn't really fit in with the vibe. I always had to serve groups of 20, and I guess I didn't take my place enough. In the end, I found another job, so it's not a big deal. I learned. I felt like reading this one because it's not something to like say that they're bad or the restaurant's bad. It's just one of those things in service. As someone who's been in there for a while, I've had to train people, I've had a ton of new people around me, and it's surprising how many people who like don't feel confident talking to tables or just people in general apply for those jobs. Just, it's in my eyes, it's obviously something that you probably have to be at least a little bit personable or confident and ready to talk to people. And so I'm surprised how many people like turn up and they go up to a table and like, "Hi, can I take your order?" Not to rat on them, just it's probably not a place for you unless like you normally are extroverted. You just so like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I've seen some people who were quiet who got way better over time, but some places just don't have like the capability to train you like this place. Like some places, they're just so low on staff, they need people who can just jump right in there. But if you are that introverted and you don't want to talk to people, serving's probably not the best. Dumbest angry customer ever. I've worked as a server for 10 or so years, and I get it. Sometimes people ask silly questions, but not tonight. I think this takes top 3 for dumbest requests ever. 2 bros came in. One of them orders a grilled cheese, the other a cheeseburger. I ask bro number 2 how he wants his burger cooked, and he responds, and I say, okay, I'll get that rolling for you, and start walking away. Bro number 1, hey, WTF man, don't I get a choice in how mine is cooked? I slowly turn around, look at him directly in the eyes, and say, you ordered a grilled cheese. Before any of you say he was probably joking, he definitely wasn't. I heard the rest of his conversations. This could be a dumb customer, or it could be someone who just didn't really think about what they ordered, and they're just like, oh, wait, what about me? It can totally happen. They might be a dumb person in general who just, did that, but I've definitely seen dumber people. This one could just be like they weren't quite thinking, and there's what you asked him and you didn't ask me something. You never know. I mean, I've had people who, like, I've asked them how they want their burger cooked, and they look at me like they don't understand what I'm asking, and it's because, like, it was more like a burger you could get medium rare rather than just a regular cheeseburger that you just get it how you get it. Were they trying to steal? Had one of our weirdest experiences of my serving career the other day. I have only had maybe 1 or 2 tables try to leave without paying over the years, but when I suspect something fishy is going on, I always watch that table like a hawk. Well, last week, a man comes in with this lady. It seemed like a date. He was obnoxious from the beginning, ordering for her, talking over me when I was asking questions, and touching my arm. Ew. Just an overall annoying customer that you cannot wait to get out of your section. When they finished, I brought them their $250 bill. They did not put anything on the check presenter for a while, so I walked by occasionally to see if they were ready to pay. Then I noticed both had stood up and were hovering over the table for a long time. I walked over. Once again, no cash or anything was present. I noticed they saw me looking, but they immediately grabbed a host walking by and asked her where the bathroom is. I had a bad feeling, so when both of them walked away, I followed at a distance to ensure that's where they were going. Sure enough, they walked right to the front door. I followed them outside and said, "Sir, I need a payment for your meal and service." He then, with a dumbfounded look on his face, said, "Oh, I never saw a check." My first thought, dude, I handed it right to you and placed it in your hand. Yes, you did. Secondly, you didn't see a check, so you just left? Make that make sense. Not seeing a check doesn't make your food free. Ultimately, to my surprise, he paid me with a card that did not decline and tipped 20%. It was just truly so bizarre, and I have been having weird tables like this more often lately. People who take the signed copy of the receipt, people writing thanks on the tip line, just overall bizarre behavior. You guys think these folks were trying to steal or genuinely just dumb? I will never forget that experience. This is such a weird situation because all the hovering, the waiting makes it seem intentional, but I've never had a walkout who seemed so intentional but also came back and happily paid. The place I'm at the most recent place I've worked, I haven't had anyone walk out so far. You never know. But the place I used to work, we used to have a ton of walkouts. Maybe it's because we served alcohol and so people get drunk and walk out, or maybe it was just that type of place, but people walked out way more. Even though now we have a patio, like an outside, where, to be honest, at some points there could be no server outside. So there could be no one there and people could walk away. But I haven't had anyone do it. But yeah, there's been a lot of people that I've had to run down in the day, try and find them and run after them or whatever. And then I have had a couple people who genuinely accidentally walked out on a $300 bill, and they've come back 20 minutes later like, oh, whoops, I forgot. And I mean, that's great. But yeah, some people do it by accident, some people are definitely trying to just get a free meal. Guy ate the wrong food. Apologies in advance for the round. I am brand new to serving, and I know I have to comp food when I mess it up. A gentleman at my table took food from me, asked what it was. I said it's dish that isn't his. I left and came back with more food, and he is eating that dish? I apologized and got it remade, but I shouldn't have to comp that food since the table started eating it. Now they're sitting there an hour after close, and I feel like it's a punishment. Ugh. This, obviously very short round. would need some more context to 100% figure it out, because it depends whether or not they like someone else at the table ordered it, and so this person literally just ate someone else's meal, or maybe the dish came out wrong or was ordered in wrong, and the person just didn't use any brain cells and just ate the food that was in front of them and didn't think like, oh, this is a burger when I ordered fish. Like, it's hard to know which is which, and some people, you tell them exactly what it is. There are people, you tell them exactly what it is, it's exactly what they ordered, and they still say no, because I don't know what happens in their brain after they order it, but it can be theirs and they still say no. And then you have people who absolutely, they say yes and it's not at all what they wanted, and then they remember after they eat it. And then you have people who order and then they don't even remember what they ordered once it's left their mouth. And so you bring them food and they have no idea whose it is, they have no idea what they ordered, and it's just a shambles. Got told I was worthless and deserved to die by a bunch of frat guys. I work in a college town, and it is truly a bear having to wait on these rich, pretentious college kids. No group is worse to serve than frat guys. I had to cut off a table because one of them puked in the bathroom, and a guest reported that, among other signs. And as I was delivering the news, they just let me have it. I was called an uneducated loser who couldn't go to college and that I deserved to die. I couldn't handle hearing these things, so I went to get my manager. They continued to talk shit on me to him, and even filmed me crying, until they paid and left. Luckily, there was an autocrat, but I still feel like shit. And it sucks being a black sheep. I wish I was able to afford college and had parents that could give me that college experience. I feel like I'm wasting away waiting tables. They literally thought so low of me, told me to die, like what the fuck. I think this one is sad because I've had people say things like this to me, but it just doesn't bother me. And I think the saddest part about this is that what these drunk idiot frat dudes have said is penetrating your skin, and you're actually like listening to what they say. These guys, dumb as hell. Don't worry at all about what they say. I mean, it's probably the same when they're sober. They probably have nothing worth saying. Just because you go to college doesn't make you any smarter than anyone else. And obviously it can, but honestly, I went to university, college, whatever, for a while, and I would say up to like 50-60% of the people who went there didn't learn a thing. They just spent all their time partying, me being one of them. Alright, well, I think that's enough server stories for today. Feel free to let me know if you enjoyed it. Hopefully you did, and otherwise we'll see you in the next one.